Hi, welcome to ExamDebug. This is Chris, and today we're going to be going through more databases, especially data types. So we're going to be looking at what is a data type, how do we use them, and some examples of data types as well in Microsoft Access specifically. So if you're interested in finding out more, stay with us and we'll go through it together. Hi, welcome back. So today we're going to be looking through data types, especially database theory for the IGCSE ICT. So what is a data type? A data type is really just a container for our information or for our data. And we have to make sure that we have the right type of container to put our data into, as otherwise it might not fit, or otherwise it might be very wasteful. So let's think about it. You're going to go to school tomorrow, and your mother, father, neighbor, whoever's taking you to school turns up in a massive tank. Now, this of course is probably not the most appropriate way for you to get from your home to the school. It's going to cause lots of damage to other people and to the roads, and it's probably going to be very wasteful as well in terms of fuel and destruction to other people's property. So this is maybe not the most appropriate one. Likewise, if you join the army and your commander turns up to take you into battle and they had a Nissan Micra, you probably wouldn't feel too safe, and you might not last very long fighting against other people who have tanks. So data types are kind of like that. They're the containers, and it's not that one is better than the other. It's just that they're more suitable for the job. So we're trying to pick the most suitable container for the type of data that we have. So here are some of the most common data types that we'll be using. We've got text, number, currency, date, and yes/no, which is often called a Boolean. So let's have a look through them each individually. Text is also sometimes called alphanumeric, and it contains characters. Text would be used for things probably like someone's first name, their last name, maybe the city they live in. The next one would be number. So a number can come in lots of different types. We're going to go through that a bit later on in this lesson. But generally speaking, a number will of course contain numbers in different formats. Now, the important thing here is that numbers must or should most of the time be able to be used in mathematical operations. For example, you might have a stock number, or you might have the weight of something, and all of these can be used in some kind of mathematical calculation. But what if you had something like a phone number? Well, a phone number you can't really do any maths with that makes any sense in the real world. So a phone number, despite the fact that it is a number, we would usually store as text. So if you can think of any other non-mathematical numbers, then these would be stored as text rather than as a number. Another common example would be a postcode. So a lot of postcodes in different countries come in totally numeric format, but these we would save as a text type. So not too far from a number, we have currency. Currency obviously is dealing with money, and it's maybe like a more specific type of number that we can be using. Other ones are a bit strange. Date. So obviously date would be used for something like maybe the date that the order is going to be sent, or somebody's birthday. And again, we can have different layout formats for the dates, depending on how specific we want to be. And finally, we've got yes, no, also known as a Boolean. This is something that's got only two answers. So you can have a yes, or you can have a no answer. Traditionally, although not so much nowadays, this might have been used for something like male or female, or has the order been sent, has it not been sent. So when you have a simple yes, no answer, we would normally use a Boolean. So why do we do this? Why do we bother if it's going to be a number or if it's going to be text? What difference does it really make? Well, one thing is when we start to look into computers in more detail, we start to see that it makes a big difference, especially for programmers or people who might be accessing our database. So if we look at the computer and how it thinks, we'll actually see that the text number 1 has this code. So this is what we call ASCII code, which is, it means that a text number 1 has this number code in binary. However, a number 1 would have this code in binary. So these are different. These are completely different numbers and are used in different ways inside the machine. So if we don't declare things as numbers and we try to do maths with them, it becomes difficult for the computer. It's kind of like if I asked you to add the letter A and the number 6 together. What's the answer? Hopefully the answer is, I don't know. So it's the same for the computer. It doesn't understand that a text number 1 and a number 1 are the same thing. It thinks they are different things. Another place where data types really make a big difference is in terms of space. So let's go back to our cars again. This time there's going to be a school bus. Now, I'm the only person going to school from my area, but they're going to send the school bus for me, and I, by myself, I'm going to get into the school bus, and the school bus is going to drive me all the way to school. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. Really, I should just go by car, or even better, by bicycle. So, but if it's too far, let's say I go by car, and then I'm saving a lot of space. So in this bus, there's all these wasted chairs, there's all these wasted seats, because I'm sitting there alone. In the car, there's not as much wasted space. So if we pick the correct data type, and also the correct subtype of data, then we don't have a lot of extra space lying about that is not necessarily used. For example, in this case, let's say I had the name Christopher, but I've picked a data type which has a character length of 255. That's going to leave this whole chunk of space wasted. Every time we add a new person, we're going to be wasting that space. Whereas if I picked a more effective data type with a smaller size, then I would fit in nicely. The danger is on the other side though. You know, if I only have a car and we have 30 people to take, then a car is not going to be effective. 30 people can't fit in a car. We would need a bus. So if this word was longer, then we would have to use the longer data type depending on how many people we have going. Or in this case, how many characters we have. This might not seem important now. You might think, oh, I have 500 gigabytes extra space on my computer. It doesn't matter. But for big companies, let's say Facebook, this small wastage of data applied to millions of people means they're going to have to buy lots and lots of new equipment to store that information. And so that big wastage actually accounts for a lot of money, and it can account for a lot of time during the searching as well. We're going to come to queries and searching later on. But this is a big factor in databases, is space. It's trying to conserve space and trying to keep the database searching efficiently. So data types really help us do that. Okay, let's have a look at some data types inside of an actual database. So today we're going to be looking at Microsoft Access. So to have a look closer at our data types, we can go into the design view up here. So if we click on this one, it'll ask me to save my table, and I'm going to call it animals, just to do something different from cars that we've been talking about for a while. So click OK, and it will bring me into here. Now, in the other class, the other video, we already spoke about primary keys. So if you're not sure about that, please go back and have a look to remind yourself. I'll try and put a link in here. But for now, let's think about other fields that we might have for my animals table. So let's imagine I have a pet shop, because that's a nice, easy way to go. It gives us lots of other information as well. So let's say I have animal name, and I have the type of animal, and I have the animal's date of birth, and I maybe have something like its price. I'm not sure if we should sell animals, but for now, we'll just go along with it. So the animal's price, and we could have something else like its height or weight. Let's give it a weight. Okay, so now we need to think about, sorry, one more. We're going to call it sold as well. And that's for whether or not the animal has been sold or not. So now we have to think of each of these and see which data type we're planning on using. So ID comes as an auto number. We'll leave that there for now. We're going to discuss these a bit later on. But for now, animal name is text. So that makes sense that we have an animal name as text, but 255 characters is probably far too many characters for the animal's name. So, I mean, we want to leave some extra space just in case we have an animal with a particularly long name, but, you know, if you had a rabbit called Fluffy or a dog called Fido, these have quite shortish names. So let's say we'll leave lots of extra space and we'll give it a field size of 40 characters. Okay, type, again, type, so it might be a dog, a cat, again, not too long, that's another 40 characters. Okay, date of birth, well, date of birth is not going to be text. It could be, but there's a much more suitable one that we could be using. And that would, of course, be the date time option. So, date time, and I can choose the format of the date that I want. So, depending on where you come from and what you're most comfortable with. Personally, I quite like the short dates, but there's a whole bunch of different options here. So I'm going to go for short date, and that will give me the animal's date of birth. Price. So the price, again, how much price do we want? Well, price is of course going to be currency, because we're dealing with money with price. And again, we can choose options like, we can choose it to be, let's say, euros. So we can have pounds, euros, and other different things. It will depend on your computer and how it's set up. So I'm going to have currency in euros. And then the weight I'm going to have as a number. Okay, now long integer is the standard format for that. So an integer is going to be a number that is a whole number. So no decimal places. So if your number is 0.65 or 19.21, then this is not going to be useful. We can't use an integer here. So weight is a number, but it's not going to be an integer. So as you'll see here, the most common settings are double and long integer. So the one that we want to choose, sorry, wrong place. The one that we want to choose is going to be double. And a double allows us to have decimal places. So here, auto, no, I want decimal places to be 2. So I'm choosing 2 decimal places, and it's going to be a double because I have 0 point something. Because weight can often be with 6.5 kilograms or something to that effect. For integers, I mean, we could have something else. It doesn't really make much sense because we already have date of birth, but age, for example, might be an integer. So number, long integer. So we could work that out from the date of birth, but maybe we just want it on there to make it easier. And our last one here, sold. So sold, we can have yes, it's been sold, or no, it's not been sold. So we would choose that to be the type yes, no. And again, we have options here. We can choose which we want. So I'm going to have yes, no, but you could have true or false, or you could have on or off. Up to you. So that's my basic table made. If I go back to the data sheet view, I need to save. Do you want to save the table now? Yes, I do. We see that it's already set these up for me. So animal name, I'm going to call Tara, because Tara was my old dog. And let's say she is, well, we'll just put dog. Date of birth, I can't remember because she was born when I was a kid, but let's put it in as the 1st of January 2015. The price, we're going to make her very expensive. I'm going to say she was €1,000. Oh, £1,000. I thought it said it was euros. Okay. And the weight, I'm going to put in as 10. She was a Yorkshire Terrier, so she was very light. We'll put her in as 5.3 kilograms. Her age, she was born in 2015. That doesn't make much sense. So she's going to be 1 year old, we'll say, because that has to be an integer. So notice here, if we try and put it as 1.5, it's going to round up that number for us. So we need, for an integer, it has to be a whole number. And has she been sold? No, she's not been sold yet. She's still for sale. And so that's our record here. We have a basic record with an ID, animal name, type, date of birth, price, weight, sold, and age. And that's auto number, text, date, currency, double, boolean, and integer. Okay, so hopefully that will give you some idea of how these things are working. So that's all for data types today. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments and we'll try and get back to you. Or check out our website, ExamDebug.com. You might find some of your answers there. And please remember to subscribe. In the next few videos, we're going to be looking at some practical parts to databases, especially queries. So keep your eye out for those videos when they come. And we'll also be going on to do more theory later on, which will be on table relationships. That's after we've released the practical videos. So please come along, check out our videos and see what's going on there. Good luck with your exams.